Welcome to Virtual Coffee with Dawn Rickabaugh, the Note Queen, where we talk about owner financing and notes. Financial solutions, one mom and pop to another.
Okay, we're at 9 a.m. So here we are. It is an absolutely gorgeous day here in Carson City, Nevada, and I hope it's a beautiful day wherever you are too. Kind of a longer type winter, so I'm super happy to have really all these spring flowers and the trees and everything, and the warm sun on my skin when I'm walking outside. So I'm always surprised at what a miracle spring feels like every year. Like I almost forget like how beautiful the flowers are, how lush the green grass gets to be. So that's kind of a fun surprise for me every year. But anyway, here we are at Virtual Coffee, anything having to do with owner financing and notes. I am your host, Dawn Rickabaugh. And if you're here, you probably already know my site, notequeen.com. And I welcome you to check out the dashboard where I have a lot of free material for you to peruse, links to resources that a lot of people, I get asked questions frequently too. I'll create a link to resources there on that page. And if you see anything that you don't have that would be great for me to put on there, please let me know. So I'm having a great time in my world. I'm a small-time entrepreneur, just a family-operated investment company. We do both property and paper. And I really love that balance of doing both. And so anyway, I have some examples that I'd love to share with you. We don't have any hot seat applications today, which means I get to share some things with you, but mostly we get to open up the lines and talk to you guys. So whoever's here on the call, I would let's have some back and forth and just see what comes up for today. So Axel, will you please go through the housekeeping rules, or let people know how to chat or email you or whatever if we have questions. This can be a real free-flowing one since I don't have anyone that is going to take up a chunk of the time today.
No problem. So for those joining us via computer, you have the ability to unmute yourself in the bottom left corner of your screen. You'll see a little microphone. You can actually click that to unmute yourself to join the conversation or ask Dawn any questions. If you're calling in from your phone, you can press *6, and that will also unmute you. You can chat questions into support. That's me. I'll field those questions over to Dawn. And then for call quality, we just ask that you be mindful. If you do have a noisy background, just try to mute yourself. And if you need some help, I will help mute you, just so we can maintain that call quality.
Excellent. So does anyone right off the bat have something that they want to talk about? And if so, please chat it or email it or unmute yourself. I'm just getting ready with my calculator here. I think while people are sort of thinking about that, I'd like to share just a deal that it looks like is coming together. And this is an example of a type of deal where how do you basically do a simultaneous closing, or table funding as it's sort of called. So how do you create a note and sell it right away? Now, a lot of times this won't work. It's just like if you have an unseasoned note, meaning you haven't even received one payment. Actually, it's technically a good idea, even if you're going to sell a note right away, it's technically a good idea from the note buyer's perspective to let the borrower make at least one payment to the seller who did the owner carry. So that way, everybody is probably aware that there's a lot of regulation around lending, originating loans. I mean, it's in my mind, part of the note business. It's like originating loans, but you still end up with a note and deed of trust, note and mortgage. Just like in the note business, we take assignment of a note and deed of trust or a note and mortgage. So in a way, we're kind of all in the note business, so to speak. But in this way, it's sort of owner terms. But I don't want to be confused with a lender, and I don't want to be subject to all the regulations that can affect it in some instances. So it's really better if the seller at least receives one monthly payment, because then you can't kind of be confused with or guilt or accused of actually doing a secret loan, like you're doing a loan that you shouldn't, and that you don't have like the licensing to do it or something. So most of the time I like, if I'm going to buy a note at closing, I don't always follow this advice, especially if I know it's not a consumer loan. It's not a like an owner-occupied situation. Let's say it's on an investment property or raw land or something like that. I don't worry about it quite as much. And I'm going to talk to you about a way that the seller can carry paper and then immediately cash out, and the numbers still pretty much work out. So this is land. Okay, so this deal is 140 acres in Utah, and there is a real estate broker over there who is buying it. He has a 760 credit score, so that's really helpful. I like seeing not only big fat down payment, which is hard cash equity out of pocket, but I also like to see good credit always helps, because in worst case scenario, every time you're making a loan or you're buying a note, you have to go, what would I do if I end up with the collateral, and would I be happy, right? So here's the deal. Basically, sales price is I want to say 710. I think I'm remembering this correctly. Now, on raw land, my underwriting criteria is that I like to see the borrower put down at least 35, preferably 50%. That's my cover level, because if I'm going to be positioned against a piece of collateral like this, I want to know that I am 50% or less at risk against this particular collateral. So the down payment happened to be a nice fat $350,000. So that's great, right? So that's almost 50% cash down payment. So that's strong. The collateral's a little weak unless I was in Utah and wanted to develop that 140 acres myself, or I don't know, maybe I'll start a hunting and fishing game and licensing. I don't know. Anyway, so that leaves a first note of what? So 360 is what's left. That's the note. And so my max, since I'm not lending the money, because I told him that he's been looking for a loan, and I think it'll take a few weeks to put it together, but I think what he can get is 6 points and 12%. Interest only for 2 or 3 years. I think that's what he's coming up against. So just for kicks and giggles, that means that he's looking for a $360,000 loan, and he has to pay 0.06, 6 points. He's going to have $21,600 in just origination fees, plus you have closing costs. So let's call it $25,000. So in order to get, out of that 360 loan, he's probably only going to take away 335, something like that. But it takes time, right? There's several weeks involved in him getting that loan. They'd really like to close. So I said, why don't you have the seller carry back the paper, and then I'll buy the note at or soon after closing. And so what's 12%? Let's just get that in here, 12%. Now, if you're looking at interest only, it's easy to figure out what the interest payment is, right? You don't need a financial calculator. You can simply go 360 times 0.12. There's 43,200 per year divided by 12. It's 3,600 a month, just purely interest payments. And at first he was like, oh, I would really love it if I didn't have to make any payments till a maturity date, meaning at the end. And I'm like, yeah, no, that's not going to happen. Because then by the time, instead of being exposed at, 50 cents, by the time that loan is due, in the meantime, I won't know how he's doing. I won't know if he's getting in trouble, he's doing well or whatever. And then, the loan balance will be, 100, 200,000 more. And that's above my ITV maximum, investment to value maximum that I would want. But anyway, here's the other way. I keep going around and around to figure out the interest, right? So here's the note that we have, 360, 12%, interest only for 3 years. All right, so there's no way. So he's going to get it away from not paying interest each month. Now I want to go my ITV maximum. So 710, if it's, I'm assuming it's worth that because it's being sold for that for someone who's putting down 50%. So I feel pretty confident that is a reasonable market value for this property. So basically times 5. The most I want at risk against this property is 355,000. So I already know I can go over here and go, my max ITV investment to value is 355. So no matter what the yield is or anything like that, I just know no matter what, I'm not going over that number. Or any investor that I would bring in this deal, I'm not letting them invest more than 355. Okay, so then we know the guy would have paid 25,000 in cash, but let's just see, I can have someone step in here and so if I say 355 is what they're gonna get, okay, and if this deal, if my investor brings in 355, they get 3 years worth, 36 payments of 3,600, and then at the end, they get paid off 360. Let's see what their yield would be. Okay, 12.5. So I would guess that I can pretty easily bring in this money at 12.5. I might probably even make it sweeter, even sweeter. Let's keep them at 350. Now they're getting 13. Oh, I like that number, 13. All right, so I think I can sell this. So now what I'm going to say then, all right, Mr. Seller, your 360 note, but I got to get paid, right? And I got to pay the guy that brought me the deal, right? So basically, I'm going to say I'll buy that $360,000 note that you have for 330. So I have to buy it at a better yield than I'm offering my investor. That's how I make money, right? That's how I stay in business, and I put food on the table and rehab the properties that are in my portfolio, right? So I'm going to buy this at a 15.5, and I'm going to sell it at a 13. That's probably how it's going to work. So basically, the investor, whoever comes in, they're going to send 330,000 to title, and the title company to close this deal, to buy the note shortly after it's created, and then I'll have my investor send 20,000 to me, which then I will share where it needs to go, and I take the due diligence costs and that out of my side as well. So you can see that it's a $30,000 discount. It's a little more than than what they would have paid for the 6 points, but it's a lot quicker and easier. My due diligence can happen a lot quicker than a lot of the larger companies, I guess. So anyway, here's an example of where, and then basically the seller's going, well, I don't want to take a $30,000 discount. So what will probably happen is the buyer will probably just have to, come to the table with that to subsidize for any discount, or, maybe the seller will carry a second for them at $30,000, who knows? So there's just some ways that I really like this. Now, it would be really beneficial for me. I would even prefer if the seller would be happy carrying a little bit of it, because I would rather just buy the payment stream and not be full at risk. That would be even safer, and I can create just as much juice out of the transaction and be less exposed. But in this case, when the seller wants out, a lot of times these people are, 1031 exchanging and they have needs for cash. But I really like it when the seller I would have rather only bring 250,000 to this deal, and then I'll just take, and if I did, what if I only wanted to bring 250 and I said, hey, the seller needs to hang out for the rest of it? I'll take for 250,000. I want this same sort of return. I'll take all the payments, and at the end, I only need 233,000 of the balloon. The seller can keep, the 130,000 above that for the balloon. So anyway, that's just an example of when there's a large down payment. It's not that hard to create a simultaneous close, table funding, that sort of deal. So anyway, that's just an example that I wanted to share. I've done probably about 10 deals where they're like this, where it's easy to buy immediately buy at least a chunk of the note right at closing. And it's a way to get a deal done and just move through it and, make it a win-win for everybody. Okay, so any comments, questions on that? Or I think anyone who just wants to talk and there's not noise in your background, just unmute yourself, because I like hearing other people, as long as you're not breathing too heavily. Just kidding. All right, so this question is Hector. Hi, Hector.
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Hi, Hector. How are you? Where are you from?
Hi. Well,
Tell us a little
I'm
about
from Mexico
yourself.
originally, but when I first came to the United States, I guess where I live, Pasadena.
Are you kidding me?
No,
Yeah.
I went to Pasadena, up to Blair High School.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah, my mom has ended up in the hospital where you used to work several times.
No kidding, at Huntington?
Yeah, Huntington. Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah. So I worked at Huntington Memorial Hospital when I was a brand new baby nurse. Worked in the ICU and ER, and I loved it.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, well.
Yeah, well, now it's like a luxury 5-star hotel. That's what it seems like now.
Oh, yes. Growing very tremendously.
Well, okay, well, fantastic. Well, let's see your question here. A note was created via seller financing for the purposes of deferring taxes and retirement. Now, a few years later, the buyer decides to refinance. What can we do with the proceeds in order to continue to divert capital gains? That's a great question. Now, can a new house be purchased? New note? How long do we have to reinvest the money? Okay, basically you're going, is there a 1031 for notes? Basically, right?
Yes.
Okay, so tell us about this note. Is this one that you or someone in your family carried?
No, here's the situation. I'm helping my mom right now. She has a house there in Pasadena.
Okay, what's it worth?
It's an investment house, and she wants
like three bedroom, 2 bath. What are we talking?
2 bedrooms.
2 bedroom.
Uh-huh.
So what's it worth?
About $500K.
Yep.
More or less.
Isn't that something? A 2-bedroom house can cost $500,000.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
It's free and clear.
Okay.
And I'm looking into. Well, I'm helping my mom, and I want to. We want to. I read your book, by the way. It was a great book, the 85-page.
Oh, great.
The story book. Yeah.
Thank you.
I kind of put everything together for us. So right now I'm in the process of I would like to hire you if possible to help us to put actually to do the underwriting and creating notes. So I'm thinking ahead. We haven't done anything yet.
Gotcha. Well, that's smart because you have a lot more options when you sort of set up the deal before you put ink to it, right? So that's fantastic. So what's the goal? What's the goal with mom?
Yeah, the goal with mom is, she's 92 years old and she's, she has medical needs. She has insurance, but she still would like to, she likes the natural aspect of medicine, let's call it that way. And so she buys equipment, and also as she's getting older, she would not like to be like in a home, She would like to stay home or stay one of the children, but we still might need to pay for somebody to take care of her,
Right.
As she will need. So she's gonna need some income coming in. And so we're thinking about, again, selling it, owner financing and carrying a note. But so I was thinking, okay, what if the buyer, the new buyer says, well, you know what, I'm paying whatever percentage, 10, 12, whatever percentage, I'm going to refinance. So my mother's going to receive all this cash, all this lump of money. Now she has to pay taxes, and she's going to, I'm thinking
Right.
that she
Also,
reinvest.
yeah, exactly. You're thinking, okay, the point is we want the income. We don't want to be paid off, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that's a perfectly great question. And so number one, I'm not you guys know I'm a note queen, whatever that is not a tax attorney. That is not a CPA, right?
Right.
But so I just only check with your own advisors, but because it's her primary residence, she's got the 121 homeowners exclusion, so that the first 250,000 of gain. I'm assuming she's owned it a really long time, right?
Well, actually, this is an investment property, so she's not going to have the exclusion.
Oh, that's right. You said it's an investment property that she owns free and clear. Okay. Oh, this is not her house. Okay.
Right.
Gotcha. Thank you for clarifying. I forgot to write that down, so I forgot. Okay, you're right. How much did she buy it for?
About, let's say, 70,000.
70,000. Yeah. So there's a lot of gain there to protect, right?
Right.
Right. Okay, great. So the thing is does this represent the sum total of her net worth, or does she have other assets?
She doesn't have any cash assets. She has another real estate property. Now that's where she also an investment.
So she has other properties as well?
Yeah, only one more.
One more, and then does she have her own house that she lives in?
No, she just lives. She lives with me.
Great. So she doesn't even have expenses. That's sweet. She owns all this property. She has a ton of equity, but not a lot of cash. So you're trying to minimize the capital gains, and create this retirement money that will help subsidize her insurance for the home. Sounds like home health care she's going to need for a while.
Correct.
Yeah, fantastic. So the thing is, here's the deal. You can't lose, right? It's not like you're upside down on this property or you have these big needs. So the best way to have a really safe investment and to greatly minimize the chances of you getting paid off and have all this money that you have to pay, all of a sudden you're going to owe the government $100,000 or something, right?
Right.
So the best way is to make it competitive with bank financing. So what are the banks lending at? So basically, I would be still looking at a 20% down payment. I think in Pasadena you can get it.
Uh-huh.
I think you can easily get someone who can bring. So let's put and so we're just going to do a little live consult right now. How do you feel about that?
Oh, great. Thank you so much.
Okay, so if it's really worth, it's got to appraise. So anyone who's a really good borrower, it's got to appraise for what you're selling it for, right? They're not going to want to overpay. Someone who has great credit and a strong down payment, at least 20%. So what would that be? If it's 500,000 property, the note's going to be 80% of that. So you got 100,000 down payment. I would say that's not going to be hard for you to get. But then what are the banks doing? So we've got to be competitive so that there is no incentive for them to refinance for a rate reduction.
Okay.
And if rates go down, then you have to be willing to match the interest rate. right? That way, there's no incentive for anyone to refinance you off. Now you can't. Now, if they decide to sell, then what you can do is offer to, let the new buyer assume the existing financing. Now, they may not want it, but there's a chance there, right? So let's just make up a number. What is a buyer with a 750 credit score going to pay the bank for money? What is it, 4%? I don't even know. What's the going rate for a conventional loan? Does anyone know?
No, I haven't checked it. But early this year was 5, like 5, more or less.
All right.
Now it has gone down to, I think, 4, 3.5.
Okay. Well then, all right. So then let's do 4%. We're just going to say you're just going to be the bank for the privilege of getting the money. And the big win for you guys, it's not that you can't grow your money more than 4%, but the big thing is you don't want to write a $100,000 check. You want that money, that core principal equity, to keep working for your mom, so you guys don't have to come out of pocket, right?
Right.
You don't want to have to come out of pocket. So you're going to match bank financing. So here we go. It's going to be 1909. That's a very, very doable. That's less than rent in that area for, I bet, right?
Right.
Okay. Of course, they have taxes and insurance on top of that, right? But that's very affordable for home ownership right there. So then that means your mom's going to get, basically 1,900, no taxes, no insurance, no repairs, nothing.
Great.
Right? What is she getting for rent out of that property right now?
We're getting about 1,750 as of last year, but we just remodel it. So if I were to rent it again, because right now we're in a transition, according to I guess statistics in the area, I guess we can get around maybe 23, maybe 25
isn't that something? Okay, so but right now, just from what she's been getting, $750 a month. How much of that goes to? How much is taxes and insurance prorated per month for your mom? Her taxes are probably pretty low.
About 2,000 a year, because she's
so
switched.
Basically, So I'm going to take out 200. So 1,550, and then how much in average maintenance, even in a good month, with you don't have to do major. What is it? A average of what?
Yeah, I'd say we experience about, say, $300
a month.
Yeah, I know it's high, but
okay. So really, your mom was netting $1,250 out of this, right? And you have the maintenance and the tenant issues or whatever, which for some people aren't bad, but right. But now she's going to get 1909 and never get a phone call. So now she's getting $650 more per month, just on a passive basis, only being the lender. So this is phenomenal, right?
Yes.
So she's getting more than rent, less exposure, less risk. Her biggest risk is they quit paying, except for in that area, you guys would do well to take 100 down and then get to own the property again.
Okay.
Right? Unless there's a complete 50% crash, you're not getting this property back, right? But that's what you want. You want someone who's got good credit, a good down payment, because the last thing you need, if you're taking care of your mom, you're not going to want a headache coming out of left field, right? And then you got to deal with the default. It's not fun unless you planned for it, right?
Right. If you do like what they call a land trust, you still feel
that you can use that in certain instances, but you're not going to get anyone with 100 down that's going to want to deal with that complexity. It just adds needless complexity in this situation.
Oh, okay.
That's for someone I only have 10,000 down and I want to buy your house. Yeah, you're not going to give them title to your property. You're not going to do that, because why would you? Because it's going to cost you $10,000 to foreclose on them and keep the interest and taxes going, minimal, right? So you're never going to do that. But you want to attract the best buyer, so you're not going to throw up any weird stuff. You don't need to, because they have hard equity, hard cash equity coming out of their pocket. They have good credit. And you're going to give them equivalent of bank financing without having to bend over for the prostate exam. That's a really nice feature. So you should sell more quickly. In fact, you might even be able to charge a premium, but why deal with it? We know what you want. You have plenty of equity there, and that's beautiful money that you can shake loose, an extra $650 a month for your mom, and no headaches. Mm-hmm. Right? Very low chance of headaches. So if they ever say, hey, rates drop to 3.5, we're going to refinance, you can say, just let us know, show us what we'll match your bank, what they'd be willing to do. And then you just drop it down. So if after a little while, you say, hey, we can get 3.5, we're going to refinance. You can go, no, don't worry, we'll match it. Mm-hmm. You're still doing better, right?
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So does that make sense? And you guys, as the kids, aren't worried. Are you guys worried about being able, now your mom's 92, you said?
Yes.
Okay. So basically, are you guys worried? Are you guys happy to take over this note as part of the estate, or would you want to liquidate it?
Yeah, that was another question I was going to ask. I was going to, in case, say the children decided to, the other children, decided to sell the note or stuff like that.
Right.
I don't think they want to. You say if they want to take over the note, is that what you said?
You can let someone else assume the note if you want, but let's say your mom has passed. Let's say it's 10. What if she lives to 100? So after 8 years, let's see something happens, right?
Right.
So based on the original note, I'm just gonna put that in there. So basically, after 8 years, so 360 minus, what's 8 times 12, guys? 360 minus, what is that, 96?
96, yeah.
So we'll have 264 payments left. So the balance will be 334 at that time. Okay, so then mom dies. Uh-huh. Now you kids go, well, do we want to keep the payment stream? It's nice, but if you got 10 kids to split this between, right. that's not that much money per month. So, what would you, if you had to sell this note as we just created it, and someone was willing to take an 8% return, which I think it would be easy for you to get, but they're still going to discount it. They're only going to pay $236. You guys will lose $100,000.
Okay.
Okay. So the thing that you might want to do, just in case, to give yourself some option, let's just recreate this note the way it was. 400,000. Okay. What you might want to create, like a 10-year balloon, where you guys have the option, but not, you can let it ride, but you have the option to call the note.
Okay.
Okay. Or 15 years, whatever the borrower will agree to. Whatever the borrower will agree to. They might go, why should I take a payment that's going to have a balloon if I can get 30-year financing from my bank? Right? So you might want to, you just might, I don't know, but most people will go, yeah, I'm going to be trying to pay it down anyway. I'm going to be trying to pay it down anyway. So give them longer.
Okay.
Right? So that way, by the time you have, 8 years into this, let's see what's the difference. So minus 96, that same 8 years goes by. There's only 84 payments left before the balloon. And if I need that same 8%, now I'll pay $270. You just made an extra $35,000 by adding in a 15-year balloon.
Okay. So what you're saying is that we still have options with this note.
There's a lot of options. There's tons of ways to play this. But I think it's an absolute phenomenal way for you to get that reduced taxes, capital gains, and get that retirement income, hassle-free retirement income. And the worst case scenario, you get the property back after you've already kept the down payment and all the payments to that point.
Mm-hmm.
And so, right, what we're trying to do is take care of mom for the next 8 years, where she might live 10, or she might live 15, especially if she's used alternative medicine and not taking a bunch of pharmaceuticals from our sick allopathic system. She might live over 100, right?
Right. Yeah, that's what we're hoping.
Yeah. So we're just trying to take care of mom, but reduce the risk, reduce the hassle, and then reduce the discount after mom passes for the heirs and beneficiaries, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
So does that help as a starter?
Yes, that helps me as a starter. If I want to continue the conversation, what is the best way to get a hold of you?
Okay, then is my website, I'm still sharing my screen, right? Okay, so right here, consulting on the Note Queen site,
Mm-hmm.
you go here and you just click on this red thing here, click here for your one-on-one power strategy sessions.
All right.
Okay, and then that's just how we connect, and you'll do really, really well. This is very clean, simple, and a beautiful example of why people would use owner financing. It's not just for desperate people. It's a great retirement planning tool. Is there, Axel, is there anyone else that wants to give feedback to Hector that has come in as chats or emails or anything? Is there any more juice on the table for Hector?
Let me see, Brian. I have Brian that raised his hand. He might want to comment.
Okay.
Brian, are you there?
Yes, I didn't want to, not on that. I was just going to ask another question, but I'm sorry.
Oh, no problem. Yeah, so anyway, thank you so much, Hector, for being on. I love that example. It's beautiful. It's perfect.
So much for all those, for everything, for who you are, and
Oh,
for just sharing all your golden information with all of us. And so I'll
thank
stay
you
in
so
touch with you.
much. Thank you so much.
So thank you. God bless you.
God bless you too.
Thank you.
Okay, Axel, where should we go next? We had a sneak peek from Brian. Should we go there? Are there other questions that came in that we should?
I had another question that came in before, Brian.
Okay.
Give us a sec, Brian. We'll get back to you. We have, let me see if I can find her or him. Hang on, here we go. Okay, it's kind of hard to pronounce.
Sri.
Say that again.
Sri.
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 He has a question. He has a current deal that he's working on, and he'd like to fill you in on it.
Great. Let's bring you on.
Hey, Don, how are you?
Hey, very good. Tell us just a teeny bit about yourself before we jump in.
I've been on the call before, maybe about a year back, I guess.
Back.
I buy non-performing seconds. Right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I've been in this situation before. I'll talk about the situation. So basically, I foreclosed from a second position, and whenever you foreclose from the second, the title is vested to me, and the senior lien lender knows about it, and they might start the foreclosure process. The property itself is in Connecticut. In earlier situations, whenever I was in this situation, I was able to take back the property because those were owner occupied. In this situation, it's a non-owner occupied. So the lease that the previous borrower signed with the tenant expires in October 2020. That was a 3-year lease. Let me give you some numbers. The property value, fair market value, is about $253. The first lien balance is about payoff is $205.
Oh, criminy.
Okay. I bought the loan at $18,000. The payoff on the second is much higher, but that's irrelevant right now because I've already foreclosed on that.
Yeah, what, just for kicks and giggles, let's just milk the value out of it. So what was the balance? What was the UPB of that second that you bought?
UPB was 63. I bought it for 18.
Okay, that just gives us an idea of, okay, I'm going to do this. Bear with me just a quick second.
Sure.
So 18 divided by 63. So guys, he bought this at 29 cents.
Yep.
And you had equity coverage, so that's great, right? Because the 18,000 plus the 205. Now I know you've had probably some legal costs, but we're gonna not worry about that right now. So
if you want to put in the legal costs and stuff, you can add in 3,500.
3,500.
Yeah.
So 227. So basically, you're in 227.
227.
I use that back button an awful lot.
That's okay.
And the value is
253. Yep.
Okay, so you got at least 10% equity coverage. Okay, thanks. And
right.
Did you buy? And just out of curiosity, did you buy this as part of a larger pool, or was this?
Yeah. It was part of a larger pool.
Okay, gotcha. Great. All right. So back to where you're at.
Okay. What I'm trying to do right now is, so the lease agreement is already in place, and my attorney told me, Connecticut attorney, the foreclosure attorney told me that if the tenant has done everything they're supposed to do and never missed a payment, all of the good stuff, I cannot kick them out.
Mm-hmm.
The law basically states that either 90 days or when the lease expires, whichever is greater, I need to abide by that. So I cannot basically kick out the borrower and take back the property until the lease ends, because
you kicked out the borrower because now
the tenant. I'm sorry.
You can't kick out the tenant, right?
Yes. Right. That's the tenant laws or whatever, Connecticut tenant laws, right? So when my attorney talked to the tenant, not the borrower, the tenant, she has expressed some interest in buying the property. So I'm going to talk to her, right? But there is a chance that, I don't know, I've never seen that happen, but if you keep making the payments on the first does have the right to, enforce the due on sale clause and actually, foreclose on us, because also the deed did not transfer to us, the title is vested to us. That's what my attorney told me. So basically, we are the owners, and that is being recorded in the county sometime next week, right?
Have you been keeping first current?
Well, so we just foreclosed on 9th of April. So May 1st, May 5th is the payment date. So once I receive the rent or not.
Okay, so before this, it was a performing first and a non-performing second.
Yes, sorry, I should have told you that.
Yeah, so the performing, did they do a nice loan modification for the borrower?
No, they never did a loan modification.
Okay. Yeah, I think you know what, whatever your attorney says, I think it's kind of it's slimy if one lender forecloses on another if they're getting paid, knowing that you're trying to turn the property back around and you're keeping them current. But at 205, they should not be anxious to foreclose on this property.
Okay.
But the thing is, how do you offer long-term? You can't offer long-term terms to your borrower if you think you're going to have to come to the table, with $200,000 to pay this first off if it goes sideways, right? Right.
So my question is, I was thinking about what are the exit strategies that I can do, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I were to make the tenant into a borrower, right, that is a refi. I'm not talking about owner financing, because I still have the risk of due on sale clause. Stay with me on the due on sale clause for now.
Are they likely to be able to finance themselves out?
I don't know. That's what I'm going to find out. Next week, I'm going to talk to them Monday or Tuesday and find out. I have their contact information from my attorney.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to just get your input or, guidance on what would be the best way to approach, right? If you can. One is if they're able to refinance, right? So I've seen whenever borrowers, they want to refinance, they drag it more time than what they're supposed to. So I was actually thinking that, find a mortgage broker, put them actually in touch, so I get the updates from the mortgage broker instead of the tenant itself, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was thinking. So I don't know if you can provide any input on this. What would be so one is actually the borrower, if the tenant can qualify, they're buying it, that's the best deal.
That is the best deal.
Other is actually selling the property to a new landlord, right? And holding the note for the, they put a minimal down, 5% or whatever of the property value, and get a mortgage and buy the property, keep the tenant as is.
So
And what?
you're gonna get the financing?
Not me. I'm going to sell it to some other landlord, or I don't want to hold the property.
So who's gonna pay this? I mean, do you think an investor would pay fair market value for this property?
I don't know. That's why that was my question too. That's the reason I was asking you that.
Right. Usually not. Usually the highest price is going to come from,
of course,
owner occupant, right? So to me, I don't think you have the investor out that you want because the first is so high. Now, so to me, I could be wrong because I don't know your market, and Connecticut's weird. You know what? It's a whole different world over there in that Northeast area.
Right.
It's a whole different world of how everything works.
Right.
To me, you got two options: is just bide your time. Like you're collecting, you stay the landlord, and you keep that first current for as long as it goes. If your tenants can get financing, that is your hands down your best exit strategy. You need someone who can, and you can't kick them out. So you want to really incentivize them. So if they think that they're going to get a really good deal, so you said that it's 253 fair market value.
Right.
So if they go, oh my gosh, maybe we can get this, you can say, look, I'll give this, what are you in it? You're in it for 227.
Yep.
So basically, to break even, you need to get your 22,000 back.
Right.
Right. So hopefully, now I don't know that they do, but what if they had 10% down payment, right?
Yeah. Then I'll be fine.
Then you're great. At least you got out. At least what we don't want is this to turn into a loss. It'd be nice if you made money, but
right.
It's almost like okay if you just break even almost, right?
Right.
So basically, so what would that be if let's give them a discount. Let's give them a 5% discount. Look, you can buy this. I'll give you instant equity, instant 13,000 equity. If you and make a time limit on it, right? Just say, look, and then but you got to do it in the next, that's good for 90 days, and after that, the price goes back up.
Right.
Or something where you incentivize them that they're great. So doing good, but what's the least that Sri can walk away with? He's got to get 2005. He's got to get 22,000. And how much your closing cost going to be?
6%. I mean, if there's no realtor involved.
Yeah, so 612. Just give me a number so I can plug it in here. 5,000.
Just put in 8,000, I guess.
8,000. And we're not even counting that you're probably have first place insurance on here or something. No, probably the first has insurance.
Yeah.
So really, we know that you can take 235, and that's almost a $20,000 discount.
Right.
If to incentivize these people to really hustle.
Right.
Okay. So if you get 240, you can. I think you consider yourself lucky.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
Well, the other thing would be to owner finance it to them or do some sort of lease option where they give you some option consideration to at least put some money back in your pocket, and then maybe the lease goes up a little bit or not. But at least if they put a $5,000 lease an option down, and then worst case scenario, if that first gets called, it's on you to fix it, right? You're going to have to figure out how to bring them money to the table if you promise them future ownership interest. So, but I would incentivize them as best I could to get a new loan and take you out. I don't know.
So if the first, assuming that first doesn't go on, enforce the due on sale clause, and if I were to structure this as a wraparound mortgage, right? So can you help me how I would do that?
Yeah, well, your attorney you have an attorney that's advising you and
Yeah. I'm just saying attorney is not looking at me making profit, right? He's going to legally.
yeah. So yeah,
the numbers perspective.
right. Yeah, I think you can always, engage future if you need to. But I hope you don't have to do that because it's dicier. I just don't think that first is going to be excited to foreclose, especially if they haven't done like a 1 or 2% loan mod for the people. If they're still making 3, 4, 5%, and they're exposed this high on the property, I don't think they want it. Connecticut's not a fun state to foreclose in. I don't like that.
Yep.
I did that one time. I don't like that over there.
Okay.
So I don't think they're going to call it. Personally, I would think that, but it is a risk. Maybe you have a 1-2% chance that could happen. So I would say all day long, run towards that refinance, help, incentivize them, but then make the deal the longer they take, the less the deal they get.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Right.
This offer's good for this long, then it goes up to this, then it goes up to, you know what I'm saying?
Okay. All right. Got it. And in this situation, it doesn't make sense to actually do a wraparound mortgage, right?
That's plan B. I
B.
hope you don't have to get there. And if you get to that point where they just can't refinance, even if they bring in a personal guarantor or somebody to help buy this house, then that's when I'd worry about crunching the numbers.
Okay.
Right now, just get these people to buy this property.
Okay. Fair enough.
Well, thank you so much, Sri. I appreciate it. On the call, and good luck with that.
And you had talked about a Baltimore property. I think always was 1 year back or something. I don't know. Did you ever sell it?
Oh my God! Did I take a bloodbath on that deal? I lent 90,000 and I got back 10,000.
What? You got back 10,000?
I got back $10,000 on that.
I had talked to you that there was a buyer interested at 50K and you never responded. I don't know if you remember that.
Oh, because I told him to hook up with my realtor because I had already listed it.
Oh, okay.
And apparently, so the person that ended up buying it was came in at, I can't remember what it was. It was 40 or 45. Mm-hmm. But then the city of Baltimore is a horrific place.
Oh, it is.
The taxes and the fees and I subsidized. I just want to say that I made a great contribution to line the pockets of corrupt politicians in Baltimore. Thank you very much. You got a lot of money.
At a point of time, I had more than 20 properties and down to 3 properties in Baltimore City now.
Right. Oh.
Painful. You don't want to go there.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you for that. And I do remember you now. Yeah. Based on that Baltimore deal, that sometimes, you just get a seminar every now and then. You get a good seminar. So you pay for your education one way or another. But the thing is, it's more important to be a person who takes action. I'm not talking to you, Sri. Now I'm talking to everybody, but it's like you can do analysis of paralysis, but at some point, your best education is just pulling the trigger. Maybe you want someone by your side. That's a lot of people invest with me or invest with other people because they don't want to be frontline and spend years becoming a note queen. Note Queen University can be a little rough, but anyway, I've learned way more in the last 10 years of managing a portfolio than I ever did in all the 7 years of classes and workshops that I ever took.
Sure. No lesson like experience.
Exactly. But then there's other times where I bought a non-performing note like you're talking about and I made 90,000. So you know what? Sure. It can balance out, but thank you so much. What a pleasure and a privilege to have you on and Hector and anyone else this year. I cannot believe how fast the time goes.
Thanks, Don.
Thank you so much, Sri. Good luck with that.
All right. Thanks. Bye-bye.
All right, Axel, is there any other questions or Brian, hi. We got 5 minutes, Brian. What are we gonna do?
Oh, well, you know what? Listening to all this conversation, and I just completely forgot my question. It's
You forgot your
embarrassing, but I
question?
did.
Well,
Yeah.
tell us who you are, where you're from, and what got you on to be on the call today.
Well, I'm actually here in Twin Cities, Minnesota, and I'm really just getting started in investing. I've got some properties in Rochester, Minnesota, Mayo Clinic, of course. But the biggest thing I find really intriguing is the ability to use seller financing with notes. And I'm just trying to get a feel for if you could quickly kind of give a scenario of how that would work, where you could actually, if somebody has a loan on the property that you want to buy and then sell, I mean, can you take that note and utilize it in a certain way?
Okay, so are you talking about you're the buyer and the
Correct.
seller has an existing bank loan?
Correct.
Okay, well, yeah, you can. It's called subject to. Okay, so you're either gonna, so depending on their equity position, and if they'll leave it in place for you. Now, would this be a long-term hold or would this be a flip?
Well, what I'm doing, and that's no, it's not that. It's the ability to sell the note. They need a lot of times in a situation where they've got this loan and they need the money to obviously to move or buy another house, and so they need to be cashed out. But my thought was, how could I take that? Could I sell that note that they have to get some money? Or
you know what? If you ever figure out how to sell something you don't own, let me know.
Good point.
Because who owns the note? Who's the note holder?
The seller that I would be buying from.
Okay. Are they paying on the note or are they receiving payments on the note?
No, they're paying the note. Correct.
So they don't own the note. They're the borrowers. Who's the note holder? Who owns the note? Who owns the receivable, the asset?
That's the difference. I see your point. Yeah, obviously the lender that's sold them the note.
They're not going to sell at a discount unless it's a distressed asset.
Good point. They actually have to. Yeah, see, that's.
No, it's a very thank you for voicing it, because it may sound a little silly now that you think about it, but really that's a really common question. It's a really common. They go, well, I would love to sell all my debt for profit too. I mean, if I owed somebody $200,000, I would love to sell it to someone else to get money out.
That's true. I mean, I'm glad I asked, because that's when you think about it now, once you realize
I'm sorry, I'm laughing because it is sort of funny when you think about it, but it is a super common misconception. So don't feel alone there, and there's no bad questions, because the thing is, we haven't been educated as consumers about finances. Do you know, most adults don't know how to run a financial calculator. They don't know how to figure what they're really paying for insurance or a car or anything like that. They think in terms of, they think in terms of minimum monthly payment. They don't think in terms of what's the overall cost. Am I building wealth? Am I decreasing my wealth? And we just don't get a lot of financial education. And so that is why I love hosting, at least once a month. Here's my little part to bring some financial education to the regular mom and pop people, because you're not going to hear this, invest in notes from your stockbroker, because they can't make money if you invest in stocks. You're not going to hear it, it's just kind of like with nutrition. Why should a doctor, learn a lot about nutrition when they make a lot more money just cutting you open or hooking you up on a bunch of pharmaceuticals? Why should there's no one. That's why you have to take it into your own hands to educate yourself about ways you can manage your own investments and not trust somebody else to do it. Just like you should take your health into a lot of responsibility for your health into your own hands. Why would you go in, doctors can have all the best, even the best of intentions, but they're a product of kind of a twisted system in a lot of respects. So there's a lot of clean out to do, I think, in the medical establishment. Why? Because there's so much money to be made. What is it? A third of GDP is made up from the healthcare. You think they're going to find cures for everything and they want you to stay healthy? I don't know. It's just kind of twisted. But anyway, thank you so much for your question and for being on the call. I really appreciate you guys. I just want to remind you to use your powers for good and go out there and create financial solutions, just one mom and pop to another. We'll catch you next time.
You've been listening to Virtual Coffee with Dawn Rickabaugh. For more, please visit notequeen.com.